The Kansas City Chiefs wrap up their preseason finale with a big W against the Green Bay Packers, and this is my instant reaction to everything that took place. We have a lot to cover, so buckle up because it's going to be fun. But before we do dive into that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's dive right into this game. Now, before we dive into the game, if this wasn't one of the most coolest, sincere ways to honor Len Dawson with Patrick Mahomes bringing the crew out and coming out in the choir huddle, I don't know what is. That was like, it basically brought chills, basically a turd jerker moment that was very, very neat to see, and you could see the crowd appreciated it, and it was just one of the cool things to see replicated and honor the late great Len Dawson. As well, you see those nice little 16 decals on their helmets too that they will wear throughout the season. I think this is going to be a special year for the Kansas City Chiefs, and it was just a great way to kick off this game and show the great respect for Len Dawson. Now we're going to dive into this game. Now Mahomes, he did come out for that, but he didn't play at all in the game. Your starting quarterback in this game was Chad Henne, and honestly, we haven't seen too much of Chad Henne in this preseason whatsoever. And I kind of been pitching, hey, let's get Bouchel in there and let's have Bouchel be our quarterback too. And as you've seen, Bouchel's been inconsistent. Today he had a solid game, but he had his inconsistent moments that I will dive into later in this video. But Chad Henne looked like a veteran backup quarterback and why he deserves to be the #2 quarterback. There was one play, and I think this is the second play second play with Sky Moore where it's like, oh my God, this was a highlight reel. But he basically roasted the guy off the line of scrimmage, and it was a PI, so he got that, but it was still right in Sky Moore's lap, and he dropped it. It's going to be something that he's going to mature and get better with throughout the season, but you could tell he's going to be a huge asset on this team, and if not in the receiving game, he showed it to start off the offense with a great punt return too. Someone who has never taken punts, you could tell he has gotten better every game at that too, and you could tell he's looking like a seasoned punt returner, which is great to see. But I kind of fast forward over the defensive part. No disrespect to the defense whatsoever, because the starting defense did it again where they didn't allow the starters, and yeah, I know it's not really starters because Aaron Rodgers wasn't out there, but still, that starting defense didn't allow a score, and they haven't allowed a score yet this preseason. That is so promising moving forward into the regular season, specifically when you got a lot of tough offensive matchups going this season, and your defense needs to be specifically better at every position to make sure that Casey's not only in these games, but that Casey is in control of all of these games. And if the Kansas City Chiefs defense is really better moving forward, this Kansas City Chiefs team, I have said it throughout the offseason and I'll keep saying it, if they are great on offense and great on defense, this is going to be one of the most complete Kansas City Chiefs teams we have seen in a while. But let's dive right back into the game. And one key focal point that's going to be throughout this is going to be fight for roster spots throughout this game. And we had a couple of nice battles, and I'm going to focus on one that we didn't really think was going to be a battle. We thought one guy for sure was going to be a battle, but another guy showed up and we were all surprised. Now, we heard the unfortunate news earlier in the week with the Blake Bell injury, which led a lot of people to believe that Ronald Jones has a chance to make this team, and maybe if not made the team with the loss of a Blake Bell. And he did. He looked very impressive today. Before, Pacheco had very good carries throughout this game, which I'm going to dive into as well. Ronald Jones had some of the longest runs this preseason, which is really nothing to brag about, but he was busting out 7 to 9 yard gains, and he looked like one of the most explosive backs on this team, which showed, hey, I deserve to be on this team. If not anything, he definitely got himself some trade value to where someone might be interested in trading for him too. But we're going to pause that. Just because Ronald Jones looked good, there was someone who showed up that none of us expected. Someone we needed to show up in Bushman. And man, he looked very, very impressive. But this is very unfortunate too, because he left the game early with a shoulder injury. And I didn't like the way he walked in the tunnel because he was holding his arm up, which is kind of scary for me because I don't know, did it get dislocated? Did something worse happen to that arm? You could just tell he was in discomfort, and it's very unfortunate unfortunate because he looked very explosive. He looked very good. He had 2 touchdowns on the night. For someone none of us really knew coming into this game, and to basically fight for a roster spot and then for it to end in an injury, I wish him a speedy recovery. Hopefully it's nothing too serious, and if it's not, that's going to be something exciting to see coming down to camp cutdown, because Kansas City's not going to keep 4 running backs and 4 tight ends. That cut down area is going to look very, very interesting. So let me know in the comments, if it comes down to Bushman being healthy, who you keeping, Ronald Jones or Bushman? And now we're going to move on to the next topic for debate, which is on the defensive line too. And this wasn't really nothing I thought would be up for grabs with Joshua Kando, and I struggled on his name like crazy, but Kando, and then Kamara too. Now everyone loves Kamara. He's come out of KU too, and he's played with Dallas last year. I think he was mostly on their practice squad, correct me if I'm wrong, but we knew he was an explosive pass rusher, and last week he looked very good, and this week he came up with a sack, and I told people to watch out for Kando, and he came up with a sack too. Now he did have inconsistencies throughout this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if those are 2 guys that are fighting for one of those final roster spots, and this is very tricky because they both might not make the team, and they both might get a practice squad, but if anything, they might lean towards Kando just because Kando is a draft pick. They might have invested a little more in their eyes, but I like the way Kamara's played. He even had an impressive play where he chased it. He rushed for the running back and then basically made the play and tackled him too. He looks like a player that deserves to be on this team, and I don't know if you let him go and doesn't make the 53-man roster, if he doesn't sign somewhere else, because I don't know if he's practice squad material. He's got a lot of good tape out there where I feel someone else might sign him. That's going to be an interesting cut coming the 30th. Now let's focus on everyone's favorite running back. It's that grown man, Isaiah Pacheco, and he finally looked like the hype we were all preaching about this whole offseason. He looked explosive, he looked strong, he looked hard to bring down, he looked like the guy we hope for him to be. And he got extensive playing time, which I think is very worth it, because if you saw last week, he struggled to be patient and find the holes. This week, it's crazy what a week does, and it shows what kind of a fast learner Pacheco is and what promise that brings for his future. This week, you could tell he was patient. He was looking for holes. You could tell he heard that criticism, and he's like, okay, let's correct this. Like, there was that one impressive play where he was behind the line, and he literally waited, found the hole, and went. Or even when he broke it outside, he stiff-armed a guy. He has a mean stiff arm. And then when he stiff-armed, his speed was able to accelerate and still go downfield. That is a scary combination for a running back. And I know there was people watching the game be like, why is he still playing late in the 3rd quarter, early in the 4th quarter? You can't have both of everything, you guys. So you can't be like, he needs to get better, but he's going to be with the starters and things like that, and then you don't play him. Like, these are valuable snaps and valuable reps moving forward for him. You might as well get it in the preseason where he can learn. Instead, if he gets it in the regular season and he messes up, and it could be costly. These were huge reps for Isaiah Pacheco, and I think it's going to form him to be one of the great backs, at least as we all anticipate him to be moving forward. But this was a promising sign for Isaiah Pacheco. Definitely, when the number one thing everyone was focusing on was he struggles with vision, and he proved, hey, I can learn. So I'm excited to see Isaiah Pacheco moving forward. I know everyone else is too as well. And with tonight too, I think we got our answer to our wide receiver 6 position. And the guy's probably saying, it was never going anywhere either with Fountain playing well today. Actually really good. He looked explosive, and he looked like a guy who fits this offense really well. He almost broke one for a touchdown getting tackled at the 1-yard line too. But he just fits this offense so well. And like I mentioned in prior videos too, it's like he is an asset in the offense and in special teams. And when you're that too, you're going to outshine a guy like Josh Gordon, who, when we talked about people getting extensive play, you would have thought Josh Gordon would have been someone who would have got extensive play, which he was on the field, but I don't think the ball was thrown at him once. And that just shows you the writing was always on the wall for him. No matter how much you want his career to continue and hope for the best for him, this was definitely probably his final game as a Kansas City Chief. I'm not going to wish ill and say this was his final game ever, because you never know. You don't want to wish that type of thing on someone. There are teams with wide receiver holes that they might need him. But unfortunately, I think it's an end of a short era for Josh Gordon, but Fountain looked very promising. And I also want to mention someone else who I know won't make this team, but I've mentioned time in and time out as well, as I'm a huge a huge fan of Corey Coleman. He is also a guy who stepped up on the offense and on special teams too. And I just want to give a huge kudos to the whole special teams, because no matter who was returning the ball tonight, everyone looked explosive, and that is a big pat on the shoulder to Dave Tobe, because no matter who you could fill in that position, they were still going to succeed. And maybe that's a testament of how good Corey Coleman has been, but Corey Coleman is definitely someone I would love to keep on the practice squad, especially over Josh Gordon, because he's got the veteran presence, and you could tell that he can be an immediate asset in case someone goes down too. So keep your eyes on Corey Coleman. I don't think he'll make the 53, but I think he'll make the practice squad. Now let's talk about some rookies, and we're going to focus not on this entire draft class because it was a pretty big draft class, but we're going to focus on some key guys in tonight's game. And we're going to focus on some of the negative and some of the positive. We're going to jump right into the cornerback room and Joshua Williams. We know he's a very raw talent, and he showed his potential to the highest level in some of these games and in training camp. Tonight wasn't his night, unfortunately. He was exposed throughout the night. He had penalties. He was getting burned. There was scenarios where he just didn't look like himself. And then he got lucky, because I thought that was a roughing the kicker, at least at the angle that it was shown, after Jalen Watson stopped a nice touchdown, which, speaking of Jalen Watson, that might be a sneaky competition too. Not for a roster spot or anything like that, but for playing time in the regular season. And I'm leaning towards Jalen Watson, which is crazy to say, because if you remember back when draft and things like that, I didn't even think Jalen Watson was going to make this team. But this boy is sticky in coverage, and he doesn't let that receiver get away from him, and he makes plays on the football. And I think he's been more impressive than Joshua Williams. Joshua Williams has been like a roller coaster, and that's scary moving into the regular season. If you want a slot guy or a depth position that you can rotate in and out in the cornerback room, I think Jalen Watson has earned that more than Joshua Williams at this point. It's going to be interesting to see in the regular season. I think they will both get their playing time, but right now, Jalen Watson looks like the star of those two. And then, speaking of rookie stars, we had two guys who have been making their names throughout training camp, and I'm going to dive into one because we all love him. He is a fan favorite. Is no other than Leo Chanel, Mr. Death Row himself. Man, he looks impressive every game, and I don't know if he will be rolling with the starters, but I know he is going to find his way on the field. You could tell he's gained knowledge every game. He's gotten better in every game. And there was one play, he came with bad intentions and just blew up the line and blew up the running back. I'm like, oh my God. Like, that guy is a difference maker, and when he basically gets everything down at the NFL level, he's going to be a problem in this league, and we all are hoping for that too. Definitely with this exciting linebacking core and a Willie Gay, Nick Bolton, and then Leo Chanel. That is a scary, scary trio moving forward. And if we're going to keep talking about scary trios, let's talk about the guy whose hype train is going up as well. He started quiet, but then he's shown he can be a leader. He's been getting excitement from the coaches and players, and that is Brian Cook too. He had an impressive interception on a drive that Packers looked like they were about to score too, and Jordan Love basically overthrew his guy. Cook made a play on it, and he can cap off a scary trio in Justin Reed, Juan Thornhill, and Brian Cook. Brian Cook is a fun, exciting player to watch. He is a thumper, and now he is showing his athleticism and playing for the ball. I tell you, like, these young kids are coming out, and it's exciting to see. I know there's going to be a learning curve and up and downs, because this is preseason speed, and we know when we get to the real light NFL regular season, it's going to kick it up a notch. But I believe these players are going to answer the bell too, and I'm excited to see what a Leo Chanel and Brian Cook bring and help with this Kansas City Chiefs defense moving into the regular season. And now, can we just take a moment to appreciate how great Jody Fortson is? Like, really, like, he does it every game and every preseason, and if he stays healthy, he is going to be a huge difference maker this season. There is just no convincing me otherwise. And you might have your fans, media, whatever, saying, well, then how come he's taking more reps than a Noah Gray, and Noah Gray's not out there much? It shows that Kansas City might prefer him. Noah Gray is a beast as well, but there's just something about Jody Fortson, and Jody Fortson might be out there because he missed last year, and those are reps he's trying to catch up from, and also he was injured this year too. I don't read too much in that. They are both definitely making the team, but when it comes to who the defensive would be more scared going up against, I don't know. Like, I think it's Jody Fortson, and I think he is bound for a huge breakout year. I think everyone's focusing on who is that wide receiver that's going to replace Tyreek Hill. Y'all sleeping on Jody Fortson. I know Chiefs Kingdom isn't, but I know when we get into the regular season, a lot of fans and a lot of media and a lot of league-wide people are going to be like, where did this dude come from? If you ask Chiefs Kingdom, he didn't come from nowhere. We've known about him for a while, and it's about time he makes his mark, and I feel like he's doing it this year. Now, to wrap up this video, I'm going to wrap it up on an injury report. As we saw early on the first drive, Trent McDuffie left, and it was with an apparent concussion injury. He's in concussion protocol. That is very unfortunate. Hopefully, it's nothing too serious. The bright side is the regular season week 1 isn't like, what, in 17? But somewhere around there, right? Like 15, 17 days, something like that. So he's got time to hopefully heal and recover if it's nothing too serious. That's what I'm hoping for too. And also MVS, he's also in the concussion protocol. I don't know how it happened. It might have been an injury in last week's game or during practice. We didn't really get direct reports. Reed just came out after game and said that's what he was in, was the concussion protocol. Thankful we have a couple weeks before week 1 to get these guys right and healthy, because Arizona is going to be a tough matchup. They always start the season off right, so we need our best players available. But the Kansas City Chiefs wrapped up their preseason at 2-1. A lot of exciting stuff moving into the regular season. Chiefs Kingdom, let me know what caught your eye this preseason. We are headed for the regular season, baby. Let's have fun with it. But before I close this video off, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. Y'all take care. I'll check in with y'all soon.